The scorching Texas sun hangs low on the horizon, casting long shadows across the rugged terrain of Big Bend National Park. Through the crystalline lens of a high-powered scope, a figure observes a lone Border Patrol vehicle navigating the treacherous mountain roads. A female agent, seemingly isolated and vulnerable, makes her way through the desolate landscape. What the watching eyes don't realize is that they're not tracking prey. They're about to become the hunted. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from. And if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The relentless summer heat shimmers off the rocky cliffs as Agent Sarah Mitchell guides her patrol vehicle along the winding road that borders the Rio Grande. The setting sun bathes the limestone formations in hues of amber and crimson, a deceptively beautiful backdrop for what's about to unfold. Her trained eyes scan the ridgelines, catching subtle movements that others might miss. The glint of metal, the shift of shadows that don't quite match the wind's pattern. Years of SEAL training have taught her to trust her instincts, and right now every nerve ending screams of an impending ambush. Her fingers brush against the hidden compartment beneath her seat. Muscle memory from countless missions in places the government never acknowledges. The radio crackles with routine chatter, but Sarah's attention remains fixed on the tactical. Puzzle unfolding around her. Fresh tire tracks cut across the dusty shoulder, leading toward a narrow canyon. A seemingly abandoned pickup truck sits half-hidden behind a rocky outcropping, its presence too perfect, too staged. Sarah notices the details others would overlook. The recently disturbed gravel, the unnatural stillness of the birds, the faint scent of gun oil carried on the breeze. The attack comes with brutal efficiency. The first shot shreds her front tire, sending the vehicle into a controlled spin. The second round punches through the windshield, missing her head by inches. But Sarah's body is already in motion, responding to years of training that began on the cold beaches of Coronado Island. This isn't Border Patrol training taking over. It's something far more lethal. Rolling clear of the vehicle, she counts the muzzle flashes. 4 on the ridge to the west, 3 more closing in from the south. These aren't ordinary cartel foot soldiers. Their movement speaks of military training, probably ex-special forces turned mercenaries. They're good, but they've made a critical mistake. They think they're hunting easy prey. Drop your weapon and show us your hands. The command comes in heavily accented English. Sarah appears to comply, her movements deliberately slow and clumsy, playing into their expectations of a frightened Border Patrol agent. She raises her hands gradually, drawing their attention upward, while her boot slides imperceptibly toward the flashbang concealed in her ankle holster. Through her peripheral vision, she catches sight of a man with professional camera equipment, documenting what they expect to be another warning to law enforcement. They plan to make an example of her, unaware that they're about to become an example themselves. Behind them, the setting sun silhouettes 8 figures approaching with practiced confidence, their weapons trained on what they believe to be a cornered victim. The flashbang detonates with thunderous fury, but Sarah is already moving. The first attacker goes down before his vision returns, her elbow finding the precise point where jaw meets skull. A killing technique perfected during close-quarters combat training at Naval Special Warfare Command. The second reaches for his sidearm but grasps empty air, his weapon already in Sarah's hands. Through the chaos, the cameraman stumbles backward, still recording as his companions fall. His lens captures something impossible. A Border Patrol agent moving with the fluid lethality of an apex predator, each strike economical and devastating. Years of combat diving and underwater demolition training have given Sarah an almost superhuman ability to move without telegraphing her intentions. The last attacker, more desperate now, unleashes a burst of automatic fire. Sarah rolls behind her patrol vehicle, counting rounds and waiting for the telltale click of an empty magazine. When it comes, she vaults over the hood with explosive power built during countless hours of physical screening at basic underwater demolition SEAL training. Her boot connects with his sternum, driving him to the ground with precision force. But instead of delivering a final strike, she vanishes into the growing darkness. The dying sun paints the canyon walls crimson as a dust storm approaches, reducing visibility to mere feet. The surviving attackers regroup, checking their fallen comrades. They find her torn vest, bloodied and half-buried in the sand. "She's dead," one laughs, holding up the vest for their camera. "El Coyote will be pleased," another message delivered. But through the swirling sand and gathering darkness, through the lens of military-grade night vision, Sarah watches them celebrate their presumed victory. Her knife gleams dully in the fading light, its edge hungry for justice. These men thought they were hunting easy prey, but they've made a fatal mistake. They should have checked her service record more carefully, should have wondered why certain years were classified, why certain missions were marked simply as service to country. Now they'll learn what every SEAL instructor at Naval Special Warfare Center knew. Sometimes the deadliest predators come in unexpected packages. As the storm intensifies, Sarah begins her hunt, moving through the darkness with the lethal grace that earned her the call sign Phantom during operations. That will never appear in any official record. The real battle is about to begin, and with it, the unveiling of a conspiracy that reaches far beyond the border, into the shadowy world where cartels and corruption intersect with political power. But for now, Sarah focuses on the immediate threat, her mind clear and focused, just as it was during Hell Week, when she proved that determination and skill matter more than gender or expectations. The wind howls through the canyon, carrying with it the promise of violence. These men wanted to send a message about crossing cartel territory. Instead, they're about to learn a lesson about underestimating their opponents, a lesson taught in the language of combat that every Navy SEAL speaks fluently, regardless of gender. The storm wraps around Sarah like an old friend as she navigates the treacherous terrain, her movements precise and deliberate. The coordinates are burned into her memory, 20 paces west of a lightning-struck rock formation beneath an overhanging cliff. Her fingers brush against familiar terrain until they find the hidden seam. 2 years ago, she buried this insurance policy, hoping she'd never need it. The cache comes free with a whisper of shifting sand, revealing a waterproof case that holds echoes of her previous life. Inside, everything remains exactly as she left it: advanced night vision goggles, encrypted satellite phone, C4 charges, and a custom-modified Mk-23 pistol that saw her through the most harrowing missions in the Hindu Kush. Each item represents a skill set her Border Patrol colleagues would never imagine she possesses. The tactical vest fits like a second skin, its weight comforting after years of lighter gear. Sarah methodically checks each piece of equipment, muscle memory from countless pre-mission rituals taking over. The ritual brings her back to Budsy training, to the endless drills and equipment checks that turned ordinary sailors into extraordinary operators. Her radio scanner picks up cartel chatter. They're still searching the area, convinced their ambush succeeded. Their overconfidence reminds her of her first days at naval special warfare, when male candidates underestimated her. She proved them wrong then, just as she'll prove these cartel soldiers wrong now. Moving like a shadow through the desert terrain, Sarah tracks the cartel's vehicle signatures. Their convoy has established a staging area 3 miles south, using abandoned ranch buildings as cover. She counts 10 vehicles, mostly modified pickup trucks with reinforced frames and hidden compartments. The guards are posted in predictable patterns. Another mistake that speaks to their military training, but also their limitations. Sarah begins her work with surgical precision. The first charge goes under the fuel tank of their command vehicle, rigged to a remote detonator. The second and third follow similar placements, each one positioned to create a cascade of destruction. But it's the fourth charge that brings a grim smile to her face, placed directly beneath their communications equipment. A guard passes within arm's reach of her position, his boots crunching on loose gravel. Sarah becomes one with the shadows, her breathing shallow and controlled, just as it was during SEAL sniper training when she had to remain motionless for hours. The guard pauses, something triggering his instincts. But years of special operations have taught her how to become truly invisible. After a moment, he moves on, unaware of how close he came to death. From her go-bag, she retrieves a border patrol uniform identical to the one she wore earlier. The blood on it is pig's blood, carefully preserved with anticoagulants to maintain its fresh appearance. She arranges the decoy with meticulous attention to detail, positioning it to suggest a failed escape attempt. The deception brings back memories of SEAL training, survival, evasion, resistance, and escape, where she learned that sometimes the best weapon is the enemy's own assumptions. Dawn approaches, painting the eastern sky in shades of purple and gold. The cartel members begin to stir, their night watch changing shifts. Sarah observes through her night vision as they discover her handiwork. The planted uniform, the convincing blood trail. Their celebrations begin cautiously at first, then with increasing bravado as they take trophy photos next to what they believe is her corpse. Their leader, a man with a silver scorpion medallion hanging from his neck, poses with the bloodied uniform for their cameraman. The same camera that recorded their ambush now documents their celebration, creating evidence of their own hubris. Sarah's thumb hovers over the detonator as she waits for the perfect moment, remembering a lesson from SEAL training. Timing isn't just about speed, it's about psychological impact. The sun crests the horizon, its first rays catching the morning. Adieu. The timing must be exact, not just for maximum damage, but to send a message. These men don't just need to be stopped, they need to understand the magnitude of their mistake. The celebration reaches its peak as the Scorpion Medallion leader raises a bottle in mock salute to their fallen prey. Sarah allows herself a small smile as she presses the detonator. In the heartbeat before the explosion, she whispers a SEAL team mantra. The only easy day was yesterday. The blast transforms dawn into day, a chain reaction that turns their celebration into chaos. Vehicle after vehicle erupts, sending shrapnel and flames into the morning sky. The carefully placed charges create a symphony of destruction, each explosion driving the survivors toward her pre-planned kill zones. Through her scope, she watches the Scorpion Medallion leader stumble away from the inferno. His face shows the dawning realization that they've walked into a trap. As he reaches for his radio to call for backup, Sarah lines up her shot. The bullet catches him in the shoulder, not a kill shot, but a message. She wants him alive to report back to spread the word that they've awakened something far more dangerous than a simple border patrol agent. In the chaos, none of them notice the small note pinned to what they thought was her corpse, but they'll find it soon enough. Written in precise military script are the words, "From SEAL Team 8, with compliments." Preparing and narrating. This story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The desert wind carries the sound of approaching vehicles, cartel reinforcements responding to the explosion. Sarah melts away into the landscape, already planning her next move. She's given them their first lesson in humility, but the class is far from over. Now they'll learn what it truly means to face a Navy SEAL. As she moves through the terrain, Sarah's mind drifts to her final test at Bud S, when her instructors tried one last time to break her. They doubled her weight load, extended her swimming distance, pushed her beyond what they thought possible. But they discovered what these cartel soldiers are about to learn. True strength isn't measured by gender or size, but by the indomitable will to never quit. The desert transforms as another storm approaches, winds whipping sand into an impenetrable curtain. Sarah tastes metal and ozone in the air, nature providing perfect cover for her continued hunt. Through thermal imaging, she tracks 5 cartel scouts moving in pairs, their heat signatures bright against the cooling desert floor. They sweep the area with professional precision, but they're looking for a wounded animal, not a predator trained in the world's most elite special operations unit. These men are about to discover why the SEAL teams are considered the pinnacle of military excellence, and why gender means nothing in the face of absolute commitment to the mission. The real war is just beginning, and with it, the unveiling of a conspiracy that reaches far beyond the border, into the shadowy world where cartels intersect with political power. But for now, Sarah focuses on the immediate threat, her mind clear and focused, just as it was during those long nights of training in Coronado. The wind howls through the canyons, carrying with it the promise of justice. These men wanted to send a message about crossing cartel territory. Instead, they're about to learn a lesson about underestimating their opponents. A lesson taught in the language of combat that every Navy SEAL speaks fluently, regardless of gender. Sarah checks her weapons and supplies, mentally calculating her next moves. The cartel will regroup, probably call in reinforcements. They'll send more skilled operators, but that only means more opportunities to demonstrate why the SEAL teams accept only the very best, regardless of who they are. The game is evolving, becoming more complex with each passing hour. But complexity is where she thrives. In the shadows between right and wrong, in the space between law and justice, they thought they were hunting a simple border patrol agent. Instead, they've awakened something far more dangerous, a weapon forged in the crucible of SEAL training, tempered by classified operations, and driven by a code that transcends ordinary law enforcement. The real hunt is just beginning, and Sarah Mitchell is about to remind them why Navy SEALs are considered the most lethal special operations force in the world, one perfectly executed mission at a time. Dawn breaks over a desolate stretch of desert as Javier El Coyote Ramirez paces the length of an abandoned mission church. His python skin boots leave trails in the dust as he studies surveillance feeds showing thermal imaging of the surrounding terrain. His Lieutenant Cruz stands rigidly at attention, knowing that failure in El Coyote's organization often carries a death sentence. Through the high-tech surveillance system, they watch their perimeter teams sweeping the area after the night's devastating losses. El Coyote has quadrupled security, bringing in his elite shadow unit, former Special Forces operators from Colombia, Mexico, and other Latin American countries. These aren't common sicarios. They're professional hunters who view death as an art form. The radio crackles with static-laden updates. No sign of the Border Patrol agent's body, no blood trail leading away from the ambush site. Just empty desert and growing questions. El Coyote's fingers trace the edge of his custom gold-plated Desert Eagle, its grip adorned with ancient Aztec warrior symbols. In the church's basement, a young DEA informant watches the door with increasing dread. He made the mistake of being too obvious in his intelligence gathering, witnessing an exchange between El Coyote's organization and figures whose identities would shake the foundations of border politics. Sarah observes the mission church from 2 miles out, her Barrett M82 sniper rifle settled comfortably against her shoulder. The familiar weight brings back memories of SEAL sniper school. Endless hours perfecting trigger control, learning to read wind patterns, mastering the art of patience. Through her scope, she studies the cartel's defensive positions, noting the professional setup that speaks of serious military training. The radio intercepts paint a clear picture. El Coyote has called in his best operators, men who earned their reputation in some of Latin America's bloodiest conflicts. Their radio discipline is impressive, using encrypted channels and proper communication protocols. But Sarah has an advantage they don't expect. Her time with Naval Special Warfare Development Group taught her to crack military-grade encryption. Grid Sector 9, clear, Cruz's voice comes through her headset, establishing new observation post on the bell tower. Sarah marks his position on her tactical map, remembering Cruz from the initial ambush, the one who called for her surrender. He's the weak link in their chain of command, too eager to prove himself to his infamous boss. Through her thermal scope, Sarah watches El Coyote's men fortify the mission church. Their patrol patterns suggest extensive counter-insurgency training, but she spots gaps in their coverage, blind spots created by the ancient architecture that no amount of manpower can fully secure. The DEA informant's muffled cries carry through her directional microphone as El Coyote's questioning intensifies. The cartel leader demands information about movement in the storm, about shadows that walked like ghosts through the darkness. The informant knows nothing, but terror and pain make people desperate to provide answers. Sarah begins her approach using techniques perfected in a dozen classified operations. The desert itself becomes her ally, each crumbling wall offering cover, each shadow providing concealment. She moves during guard rotations, timing her advances to the predictable patterns of professional soldiers who've grown too confident in their technology. Cruz's new observation post provides the opportunity she needs. He's positioned his team well, covering all obvious approaches to the church, but he's forgotten one of the first lessons from SEAL training. Always watch your own back. Sarah takes his team down methodically, efficiently. No gunshots, no alerts, just the whisper of her Ka-bar knife and the soft thump of bodies hitting sand. She leaves them breathing but unconscious, zip-tied and hidden in the growing shadows. Cruz she keeps for last, watching him through her scope as he realizes his radio checks are going unanswered. The sun touches the horizon as she makes her final approach to the mission church. Cruz's security codes, properly persuaded, give her access to their surveillance feeds. She watches El Coyote through his own cameras as he returns to the basement, his frustration growing with each failed attempt to extract useful information. Sarah orchestrates her next move with surgical precision. A series of small explosions at the perimeter draw their attention outward, while synchronized. EMPs knock out specific cameras in her planned infiltration route. The guards respond exactly as their training dictates, textbook movements that make them predictable. The basement door splinters under her breaching charge. El Coyote's men react with professional speed, but she's already moving. The first guard takes a tranquilizer round to the neck. The second finds himself unconscious before he can raise the alarm. Sarah flows through the darkness like liquid death, each movement economical and precise. She reaches the informant as El Coyote's boots thunder on the stairs above. The door locks automatically, another security measure she's turned to her advantage. Through the reinforced steel, she hears him barking orders, mobilizing his men for a full sweep of the compound. Sarah cuts the informant's restraints, administering emergency first aid with practiced efficiency. His eyes widen as she produces a syringe. "Painkiller and stimulant," she explains softly. "You'll need it to move." The injection works quickly, dulling his pain while sharpening his senses. Their escape route takes them through ancient tunnel systems beneath the mission church, passages used by priests centuries ago to hide from persecution. Sarah navigates the darkness from memory, having studied historical documents in the mission's archives. Above them, El Coyote discovers his lieutenant. Sarah has left crews exactly as promised, suspended in an elaborate rope system that any SEAL would recognize as a calling card. His terrified gasps echo through the compound as field medics work to extract him from his predicament. The desert night swallows Sarah and the informant as they clear the mission's perimeter. She guides him to a cached vehicle, an unmarked SUV positioned days ago for exactly this contingency. As she helps him into the passenger seat, his hand catches her arm. "The shipment," he whispers, his voice raw from screaming. "They're moving something big tonight, not drugs, chemical weapons, Russian-made. El Coyote's just the middleman." His eyes flutter as exhaustion battles with the stimulant. "There's someone else behind this, someone with diplomatic credentials." Sarah's jaw tightens as pieces click into place. This isn't just about border violence or cartel territory. They've stumbled onto something that could spark an international incident. She helps the informant settle more comfortably in his seat. "Rest," she tells him. "You're safe now." But even as she says the words, her mind is already planning the next phase. Chemical weapons on American soil presents a whole new level of threat, one that goes beyond cartel violence into the realm of terrorism. This is exactly the kind of situation she trained for in the SEALs, high-stakes operations where failure isn't an option. The SUV disappears into the desert night as behind them, El Coyote's compound erupts in chaos. Cruz's delirious ramblings mix with security alarms and shouted orders, but Sarah doesn't hear any of it. Her focus has shifted entirely to the new threat, her mind already formulating strategies, using every bit of her SEAL training. The stakes have changed. This is no longer about survival or even justice. Now it's about preventing a catastrophe that could cost thousands of lives. But that's what SEALs do best. Turn impossible situations into successful missions, one calculated risk at a time. The real war is just beginning, and Sarah Mitchell is about to remind them why Navy SEALs are considered the ultimate solution to impossible problems. The night belongs to her now, and somewhere in the darkness, a shipment of weapons that could devastate entire cities is about to meet the unstoppable force of America's most elite Special Operations Unit. Starlight glints Off razor wire coiling atop the Port of Brownsville's security fence as Sarah observes the cargo terminal through her thermal scope. The massive container ship Volga Star looms against the night sky, its Russian registry raising red flags in her mind. 6 heavily armed men patrol the perimeter, their movement patterns suggesting Spetsnaz training, Russian special forces, operating on American soil. Her encrypted satellite phone vibrates, a message from her old SEAL team commander. The informant's intel has been verified. The chemical weapons are Soviet-era VX nerve agent, enough to devastate every major city. In Texas. More troubling are the satellite photos showing a diplomatic vehicle entering the port an hour ago. Someone with high-level clearance is orchestrating this operation. Sarah's mind flashes back to her advanced SEAL chemical warfare training. She remembers the instructor's words. VX doesn't just kill, it terrorizes. One drop can kill in minutes. Imagine what a shipping container of it could do. The memory steals her resolve. This isn't just about stopping criminals. It's about preventing mass casualties. Moving like a shadow, she approaches the first guard position. Her time as a combat diver in the SEALs taught her how to move silently, even in full gear. The guard never hears her approach. A precise strike to the vagus nerve renders him unconscious, a technique learned from the Navy's most elite close combat instructors. The cargo manifest, accessed through her tactical tablet, shows the Volga Star carrying agricultural chemicals, but the thermal imaging reveals armed guards concentrated around a specific container, their body language tense and alert. That's where the VX will be. Sarah spots a familiar face through her scope. Viktor Petrov, former Russian FSB agent turned arms dealer. His presence confirms the worst. If he's involved, this isn't just a cartel operation. It's a coordinated attack on American soil. She remembers tracking him during a classified operation in the Black Sea, where her SEAL team disrupted his weapons pipeline. He escaped then. Not this time. The port security cameras feed directly to her tactical display, courtesy of a hack that would make NSA analysts proud. She watches Petrov meet with a figure whose face is hidden beneath an expensive suit and diplomatic credentials. Money changes hands, physical cash, untraceable, old school. The buyers arrive in 30 minutes. Petrov's voice carries through her directional microphone. Once the payment clears, we load the container and disappear. By morning, El Coyote's men distribute the packages to cells across the country. Sarah's blood runs cold. This isn't just about profit. It's about creating terror cells armed with weapons of mass destruction. She checks her equipment one last time, specialized breathing apparatus, chemical-resistant gear, and most importantly, the antidote auto-injectors in case something goes wrong. The dock's floodlights cast harsh shadows as she begins her approach. Years of SEAL training have taught her to use light to her advantage, staying in the transition areas where bright meets dark, becoming nearly invisible. 2 more guards go down silently, their bodies carefully hidden. She reaches the container just as a convoy of black SUVs approaches the gate. The buyers. Time is running out. Sarah places breaching charges on the container's doors, carefully, calculating the explosion to disable rather than rupture any chemical weapons inside. One mistake here could be catastrophic. The charges detonate with precise force, stunning the nearby guards. Sarah moves through the chaos with lethal efficiency. These aren't cartel soldiers. They're trained military operators. But she's something they've never faced. A Navy SEAL who spent years perfecting the art of close-quarters combat. Inside the container, rows of innocuous-looking crates bear Russian military markings. Her chemical detector confirms the worst. Weapons grade. VX, stored in specially designed containers. One false move could release a cloud of death across the entire port. Petrov's voice crackles over the guards' radios, ordering them to protect the shipment at all costs. But Sarah has already rigged the container with a different kind of surprise. Thermite charges that will incinerate the chemical agents safely, breaking them down into harmless components. The diplomatic vehicle screeches to a halt as gunfire erupts across the port. Sarah catches a glimpse of the man emerging, Ambassador Viktor Romanov, Russia's representative to Mexico. The pieces click into place. This isn't just terrorism. It's a state-sponsored attack disguised as cartel violence. "Secure the container," Romanov shouts, his diplomatic facade cracking. "Kill anyone who interferes." Sarah triggers the thermite charges just as Petrov's men reach the container. The chemical weapons begin to burn, producing intense heat that renders the VX harmless. But her mission isn't over. Evidence of Romanov's involvement must reach the right people. She activates her body camera, recording as Romanov orders his men to open fire. Every word, every action captured in high definition. The ambassador's diplomatic immunity won't protect him from this. The firefight that follows would make her SEAL instructors proud. Sarah moves like water through the chaos, each shot precise and purposeful. These men are elite operators, but they've never faced someone trained to fight in every environment, air, land, and sea. Petrov makes a break for his escape vehicle, but Sarah has been waiting for this moment. The shot takes him in the leg, painful but not fatal. He needs to survive to testify. Romanov reaches for something in his jacket, but Sarah is faster. The ambassador finds himself disarmed and zip-tied before his diplomatic protection detail can react. Port police sirens wail in the distance as Sarah secures the scene. The evidence is undeniable. Russian diplomatic credentials, sophisticated, chemical weapons, and cartel connections all documented and transmitted to secure servers. This will shake international relations, but preventing mass casualties makes it worth the diplomatic fallout. As dawn approaches, Sarah does one final sweep of the area. The chemical weapons have been neutralized, the conspirators captured, and most importantly, innocent lives saved. But something about this feels incomplete. The cartel connection suggests a deeper conspiracy, one that reaches into the highest levels of multiple governments. Her satellite phone vibrates again, a message from her former SEAL commander. "Good work, but this isn't over. We've intercepted chatter about similar shipments at other ports. There's a bigger player behind this." Sarah checks her weapons and supplies, already planning her next move. This mission has evolved beyond a simple cartel conflict into something far more dangerous. But that's what Navy SEALs are trained for, adapting to changing threats and completing the mission, no matter the odds. As she disappears into the growing light, Sarah reflects on her journey from Bud-S training to this moment. Being a female, SEAL meant constantly proving herself, exceeding every standard, and never accepting limitations. Tonight proved what she's always known. It's not about gender, size, or strength. It's about will, skill, and the unwavering commitment to protect innocent lives. The sun rises over the port as federal agents swarm the scene. They'll find everything perfectly documented, the weapons, the conspirators, and enough evidence to unravel an international terrorist network. But Sarah Mitchell will be long gone, moving on to the next threat, carrying with her the SEAL team motto that has guided her career. The only easy day was yesterday. The real war is just beginning, and somewhere in the shadows a new threat awaits. But that's exactly where Navy SEALs thrive, turning impossible odds into successful missions, one operation at a time. The dimly lit corridors of CIA headquarters in Langley buzz with urgent activity as intelligence analysts pore over the evidence Sarah secured at Port Brownsville. In the secure conference room, Deputy Director Marcus Chen studies surveillance photos of another suspected weapons shipment, this time heading for San Diego. But Sarah's attention focuses on a different detail. A familiar face in the background. Of one image, Admiral James Crawford, her former commanding officer from SEAL Team 8, stands beside Ambassador Romanoff at a private airfield in Mexico City. The timestamp shows this meeting happened 3 days before the VX incident. The implications send ice through her veins, corruption reaching into the highest levels of Naval Special Warfare Command. Sarah accesses the secure terminal, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she pulls up Crawford's personnel file. His recent travel records show multiple trips to countries known for weapons trafficking. Bank accounts registered to offshore. Corporations reveal suspicious deposits totaling millions. The admiral, who once commanded America's most elite special operations unit, is now selling out his country. "You shouldn't be accessing those files, Agent Mitchell." The voice comes from behind her. Senator Catherine Hawthorne, head of the Intelligence Committee, stands in the doorway, but instead of calling security, she closes the door. "What you've uncovered goes deeper than you realize. We've been tracking this for months." The senator spreads photographs across the table, secret meetings, weapons exchanges, classified documents changing hands. Crawford isn't just corrupt. He's part of a shadow organization called Perseus. Former special operations commanders from multiple countries, working to destabilize governments and profit from the chaos. Sarah's tactical mind processes this new information. Perseus explains the sophisticated operation at the port. The combination of cartel routes, diplomatic cover, and military precision. They're using their insider knowledge of special operations to create an unstoppable criminal enterprise. "Why tell me this?" Sarah asks, though she already suspects the answer. "Because you're uniquely qualified to stop them," Hawthorne replies. "Perseus knows every special operations playbook, every standard procedure. We need someone who can think beyond conventional tactics. Someone who's already proven they can overcome impossible odds." Satellite images appear on the main screen, a heavily fortified compound in the Sierra Madre Mountains. 3 hours ago, our assets confirmed Crawford is meeting with the entire Perseus Leadership Council, 20 of the most dangerous former special operations commanders in one location. "It's a trap," Sarah states, studying the compound's defenses. Multiple overlapping fields of fire, state-of-the-art security systems, and enough ex-special forces operators to form a small army. "Almost certainly," Hawthorne agrees, "but it's also an opportunity we won't get again. Crawford knows we're closing in. After this meeting, Perseus will go dark." Sarah remembers her SEAL training, specifically the advanced courses in mission planning and risk assessment. Every instinct tells her this operation is suicide, but she also remembers the instructor's words. "The impossible becomes possible when you stop thinking about why you can't and start figuring out how you can." The next hour is spent analyzing every aspect of the compound. Perseus has prepared for every conventional attack scenario: air assault, ground infiltration, even subterranean approach. They're expecting a team of operators using standard special operations tactics. What they're not expecting, Sarah says, a plan forming in her mind, is someone who thinks like they do, but isn't bound by conventional doctrine. She outlines her strategy, and even the hardened CIA analysts look impressed. It's audacious, borderline insane, but it just might work. Senator Hawthorne authorizes the mission with one condition. Sarah gets whatever resources she needs, but official acknowledgement will be impossible if things go wrong. Within hours, Sarah is airborne in a stealth helicopter heading for the Mexican border. Her modified tactical gear includes cutting-edge prototype equipment even SEAL teams haven't seen yet. But her most powerful weapon is her mind, trained, not just to execute missions, but to think beyond traditional limitations. The compound comes into view as darkness falls. Sarah observes through advanced optics as Perseus security teams perform their patrols. Their movements are perfect, textbook special operations procedure, and that's exactly what she's counting on. Instead of avoiding their patrol patterns, she times her approach to coincide with them. Years of SEAL training taught her that sometimes the best way past security is to move so boldly that no one questions your presence. Dressed in Perseus tactical gear, she walks directly through their perimeter. The guard at the main entrance checks her credentials, perfect forgeries created using data from the CIA's best technical teams. Her cover identity is that of a security consultant hired to assess the compound's defenses. Perseus is arrogant, enough to believe they need the review. Inside, Sarah moves with purposeful confidence, nodding to guards who snap to attention. Her tablet displays a security assessment program, but it's actually mapping the compound's internal systems. Every camera, every sensor, every security checkpoint is logged and analyzed. She spots Crawford through a window, meeting with other Perseus leaders. The Admiral's face shows no sign of the honor he once embodied. The man who taught her about duty and sacrifice is now plotting to sell weapons of mass destruction to terrorists. Sarah reaches the compound's main security center. The guards inside are elite operators, but they never expect an attack from someone they believe is on their side. Non-lethal takedowns leave them unconscious as she accesses their systems. One by one, she begins inserting subtle errors into their security protocols. A guard captain approaches, drawn by the sound of typing. Sarah doesn't hesitate. Her years of close-quarters combat training take over. The captain is unconscious before he can raise the alarm, joining his colleagues on the floor. With the security systems compromised, Sarah moves to Phase 2. She reaches the compound's power distribution center, planting specialized charges designed to create a cascading failure. When they detonate, backup systems will activate in a specific sequence, creating a brief window of opportunity. She's about to exit the power center when voices approach. Two Perseus operators round the corner, engaged in conversation. Sarah becomes absolutely still, employing the advanced concealment techniques that made her a legend in the SEAL teams. The operators pass within inches, never noticing her presence. One of them mentions that Crawford is preparing to leave. Ahead of schedule. The timeline has accelerated. Sarah triggers the charges. The compound plunges into darkness as primary. Power fails. Emergency lights activate exactly as planned, creating strobe-like effects that disorient and confuse. Guards rush to predetermined positions, following their training perfectly. But their training is now working against them. In the chaos, Sarah moves through the compound like a ghost. Perseus operators, some of the world's deadliest fighters, never see her coming. Non-lethal takedowns leave a trail of unconscious bodies. As she approaches the command center, Crawford stands at a window, watching the confusion below. "I knew you'd come," he says, without turning. "You always were my best student." "Why?" Sarah asks, her weapon trained on his back. "You taught us about honor, about protecting the innocent." "Honor doesn't pay the bills," Crawford laughs bitterly. 20 years of service, and what did I have to show for it? Perseus offers a chance to use our skills for real profit, by selling weapons to terrorists, by betraying everything we stood for. Crawford turns, his face hardening. The world isn't black and white, Mitchell. Sometimes the real patriots are the ones willing to burn the system down and rebuild it. "You're no patriot," Sarah replies. "You're just another criminal who forgot his oath." Crawford moves with surprising speed, drawing a hidden weapon. But Sarah is faster. Her shot catches him in the shoulder, spinning him away from his gun. As he falls, she sees not the corrupted officer, but the leader who once inspired her to push beyond her limits. Within minutes, CIA tactical teams breach the compound. The Perseus leadership is captured, their operations exposed. Sarah's bold. Strategy has succeeded where conventional approaches would have failed. As dawn breaks over the mountains, Sarah watches federal agents leading Crawford away. His betrayal still stings, but it's also reminded her of an important truth. True. Strength isn't about physical power or tactical skill. It's about maintaining your principles, even when the world tries to corrupt them. The CIA offers her a permanent position, impressed by her unprecedented success. But Sarah declines. Her place is on the border, protecting America from threats, both obvious and hidden. Besides, as her SEAL instructors always said, the only easy day was yesterday. She returns to her Border Patrol duties, knowing that somewhere another threat is emerging. But that's fine with her. After all, Navy SEALs don't just rise to challenges, they exceed them. Thunder rolls across the Texas sky as Sarah's border. Patrol vehicle cuts through the pre-dawn darkness. The radio crackles with urgent chatter. Multiple incursions detected along a 10-mile stretch of border. But something about the pattern feels wrong. Her SEAL training kicks in, analyzing the data tactically. "Too organized," she mutters, studying the dispatch reports. "These aren't random crossings." The vehicle's computer displays thermal imaging from border sensors. Dozens of heat signatures move through the darkness, but their formation suggests military training. They're executing a dispersed advance, using terrain features for concealment, tactics she recognizes from special operations. Manuals. Sarah's satellite phone vibrates, a secure message from Senator Hawthorne. Perseus wasn't the end. Crawford talked. Something bigger tonight. Multiple teams. High-value target. The pieces click into place. The border incursions aren't random. They're a diversion. While Border Patrol resources are spread thin, chasing multiple groups, something more dangerous is happening. Lightning illuminates the desert as Sarah accesses classified databases through her secured tablet. Cross-referencing tonight's date, she finds it. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, leading nuclear physicist, is being transported to a secure facility near the border. Her research on theoretical weapon systems could revolutionize modern warfare. The transport convoy's route takes it through exactly where these incursions are concentrating. Someone is creating chaos to mask a high-stakes kidnapping attempt. Sarah's mind races through options. Standard procedure would be to call for backup, but that's exactly what the attackers expect. They've planned for a conventional response. Time to show them how a Navy SEAL approaches problems. She guides her vehicle off-road, using the storm for cover. The thermal imaging shows the convoy approaching from the north, still unaware of the trap being laid. The attackers are professionals. She counts 3 separate teams converging on predicted ambush points. Lightning reveals glimpses of their equipment, cutting-edge tactical gear, weapons that aren't available on the civilian market. These aren't cartel soldiers. They're something far more dangerous. Sarah reaches her cached equipment locker, hidden months ago for exactly this kind of situation. Inside, her specialized SEAL gear waits. Night vision systems more advanced than what the attackers carry, prototype weapons designed for close-quarters combat, and most importantly, her customized communication suite. The rain begins as she suits up, bringing back memories of SEAL training. Hell Week in the pounding surf taught her that weather isn't an obstacle. It's an advantage if you know how to use it. She patches into the convoy's secure frequency, listening to their chatter. They're walking into a perfect ambush zone, high ground on both sides, limited visibility, no easy escape routes. But the attackers have made one critical mistake. They don't know a Navy SEAL is about to join the fight. The first team of attackers never sees her coming. Sarah moves through, the storm like a ghost, her movements masked by thunder. 3 operators go down silently, victims of the close combat techniques she perfected in the SEAL teams. She appropriates their radio, listening as the other teams check in. Their communications suggest this is more than a simple kidnapping. They're working for someone with serious resources and intelligence capabilities. The convoy appears through the rain, headlights cutting through the darkness. Sarah counts 4 armored vehicles, standard protective formation. Dr. Rodriguez will be in the 3rd vehicle, surrounded by Federal Protective Service agents who are about to face an enemy they're not prepared for. Lightning flashes again, and Sarah spots the 2nd attack team setting up heavy weapons on the ridge. They're carrying man-portable anti-tank missiles, enough firepower to stop the convoy dead. Time slows as she assesses options. Standard. Tactical doctrine would call for eliminating the missile threat first, but Sarah's mind works differently. Years of SEAL operations taught her to think beyond conventional responses. She triggers her captured radio. Team 2, be advised. Team 1 reports Federal Quick Reaction Force approaching from the south. Adjust positions immediately. The attackers respond exactly as their training dictates, shifting their focus south to meet the non-existent threat. In their minds, the information comes from their own people. They never consider it might be deception. Sarah uses their momentary distraction to move closer, timing her approach between lightning flashes. The heavy weapons team is fully focused. On the southern approach, never suspecting death approaches from behind. Her takedowns are precise, efficient, exactly as she learned in SEAL close-quarters combat training. Within seconds, the missile threat is neutralized, the weapons disabled with thermite charges that will render them useless. The convoy approaches the ambush point just as the 3rd attack team springs their trap. Explosives hidden in the road detonate, forcing the vehicles to stop. Attackers emerge from multiple positions, weapons ready, but Sarah has already changed the equation. From her elevated position, she engages with surgical precision. The attackers find themselves caught in a crossfire they never expected, their careful plan falling apart. Through her scope, she spots something that changes the situation. The attackers are wearing patches she recognizes. Not military or cartel, but corporate. Chimera Defense Solutions, one of the world's largest private military companies. The implications are staggering. Chimera has government contracts worldwide, access to classified intelligence, and enough resources to field small armies. If they're after Dr. Rodriguez's research, it's not just for profit. They're working for someone with much bigger plans. Sarah's radio picks up panicked transmissions as the attackers realize they're being hunted. Their training is excellent, but they've never faced someone who can think and fight at their level while operating completely alone. The convoy's security team rallies, using the confusion to their advantage. Between their fire and Sarah's precise shots, the attacking force begins to break. Professional soldiers becoming prey, hunted by a predator they never saw coming. Lightning illuminates the battlefield as Sarah moves to secure Dr. Rodriguez. The physicist's eyes go wide as a shadow materializes beside her vehicle, a figure in advanced tactical gear moving with inhuman grace. Agent Mitchell, Border Patrol. Sarah identifies herself, showing her credentials. But formally, Navy SEAL Team 8. We need to move now. Rodriguez nods, understanding the situation instantly. They're not just after me, she says as they move. Through the rain. They want my research on quantum field manipulation. In the wrong hands, it could change the nature of warfare itself. Sarah guides them to her hidden vehicle as the storm intensifies. Behind them, the remaining attackers are being rounded up by federal agents responding to the convoy's distress call. But this isn't over. Chimera doesn't fail missions like this without consequences. Her satellite phone vibrates again, another message from Senator Hawthorne. Chimera CEO in emergency meeting with Russian defense minister. Something bigger. Happening. Keep Rodriguez safe at all costs. As they drive through the storm, Sarah's mind is already planning next moves. Chimera has resources worldwide, intelligence networks that rival some countries, and operators trained to the highest standards. They'll try again, probably with something even more ambitious. But that's exactly the kind of challenge Navy SEALs are trained for. Each impossible situation is just another opportunity to prove why they're considered the world's elite special operations force. Dr. Rodriguez watches the lightning illuminate the desert. They'll keep coming, won't they? Sarah checks her mirrors, scanning for pursuit. Yes, but that's okay. They haven't learned yet. Sometimes the most dangerous predator is the one you don't see coming. The storm rages around them as they head for a secure facility Sarah knows from her SEAL days. Tomorrow will bring new threats, new challenges. Chimera will adapt their tactics, try different angles of attack, but they're about to learn what everyone who underestimates Sarah Mitchell eventually discovers. Navy SEALs don't just complete missions, they redefine what's possible. Each challenge is just another opportunity to demonstrate why they're the best of the best. The night belongs to them now, two women who've excelled in male-dominated fields, protecting research that could change the world. And somewhere in the darkness, Chimera's leadership is about to learn a valuable lesson about assumptions and underestimating their opponents. The real war is just beginning, but that's fine with Sarah. After all, as every SEAL knows, the only easy day was yesterday. Deep in the Utah desert, a state-of-the-art research facility hums with activity beneath the earth. Sarah stands at a reinforced observation window, watching Dr. Rodriguez work with quantum field manipulation equipment that looks like something from science fiction. The facility, known only as Project Horizon, was built to house the government's most sensitive research projects. 2 weeks have passed since the ambush, and Chimera Defense Solutions has been suspiciously quiet. Sarah's instincts, honed through years of SEAL operations, tell her they're planning something big. The question is what? Agent Mitchell? Doctor. Rodriguez calls from her workstation. I think you need to see this. The physicist's hands move across holographic displays, bringing up data streams that paint a disturbing picture. Someone's been accessing our quantum research database, not stealing data, inserting it. Sarah studies the intrusion patterns, recognizing a level of sophistication that exceeds even nation-state hackers. They're not trying to steal your research, she realizes. They're trying to manipulate it, make you reach the wrong conclusions. A red warning light flashes on. The security console. Sarah's hand moves to her sidearm as the facility's doors begin cycling through emergency protocols. Someone has triggered a Level 1 containment procedure designed to lock down the facility and trap everyone inside. System breach detected. The AI security system announces, unknown biological agent detected in ventilation system, emergency protocols engaged. Sarah's mind races through options as airtight barriers slam into place. This is what Chimera was waiting for. Turn. The facility's own security systems against them. Through the observation windows, she sees security teams rushing to predetermined positions, exactly as their training dictates. They're not just trying to trap us, Sarah explains, accessing the facility's diagnostic systems. They're herding us, making us gather in designated safe zones where they can contain everyone at once. Dr. Rodriguez watches as Sarah's fingers fly across the security terminal. Can you override it? They'll expect that, Sarah replies, a plan already forming. So we'll give them exactly what they expect. Sometimes the best way to beat special operations tactics is to use them against themselves. She accesses her tactical tablet, bringing up the facility's blueprints. The ventilation system alert is a fake, designed to trigger specific containment protocols. But Chimera doesn't know about the facility's most classified feature, an emergency evacuation. Tunnel designed for exactly this scenario. Your research? Sarah asks. Can you transfer it to a secure drive? Rodriguez nods, already moving to her workstation. Everything's backed up on quantum encrypted servers, but they're not after the data anymore. They want me, my knowledge, of how to implement it. Sarah's satellite phone vibrates. A message from Senator Hawthorne, Chimera CEO spotted in Beijing. Chinese military mobilizing research division. Timeline accelerated. The pieces click into place. Chimera isn't working alone. They're part of a larger operation involving multiple nations. If they capture Dr. Rodriguez, her research could shift the global balance of power. Warning klaxons blare as the facility's main doors breach. Through security cameras, Sarah watches Chimera operators flow into the complex with practiced precision. Their movements confirm her suspicions. These are top-tier special operations veterans equipped with cutting-edge tactical gear. Time to disappear, Sarah says, leading Rodriguez toward a maintenance panel. Her fingers find the hidden catch, revealing the secret evacuation route. Like my SEAL instructors always said, the best escape route is the one nobody knows exists. They move through the narrow tunnel as Chimera's teams secure the facility above. Sarah's mind stays focused on the next phase of her plan. The emergency route leads to a hidden hangar where a specialized aircraft waits, a prototype designed for exactly this kind of extraction. They'll have the perimeter covered, Rodriguez observes as they reach the hangar. Probably anti-aircraft. Measures too. Sarah allows herself a small smile. That's why we're not flying out. We're driving. She reveals her true extraction plan. A heavily modified underground mining vehicle designed to bore through solid rock. While Chimera watches the skies, they'll slip away beneath their feet. The mining vehicle's engines roar to life as facility alarms continue blaring above. Sarah guides the massive machine into the excavation tunnel, its powerful drills capable of creating new paths through the desert rock. "They'll track the seismic signatures," Rodriguez notes, her scientific mind already analyzing their escape. "Counting on it," Sarah replies. "Sometimes the best deception is letting your enemy think they've figured out your plan." Miles away, charges planted days ago detonate in precise sequences, creating seismic patterns that mimic their vehicle's signature. Chimera's sensors will detect multiple possible escape routes, forcing them to split their forces. Through the vehicle's specialized sensors, Sarah monitors their pursuers' movements. Chimera's teams deploy exactly as she predicted, spreading out to cover multiple potential emergence points. Their tactical doctrine is perfect, and that's their weakness. "Your SEAL training," Rodriguez observes, as they forge a new tunnel through the rock. "It's not just about combat, is it? It's about outthinking your opponent." Sarah nods, remembering countless training exercises where the solution wasn't about strength or speed, but creative problem-solving. The best operators understand that the mental game matters more than the physical. The mining vehicle breaks through into an abandoned mine shaft, part of a complex network that honeycombs this part of the desert. Sarah guides them through passages she memorized during her mission planning, each turn taking them closer to their real extraction point. Above ground, Chimera's forces continue chasing seismic ghosts. Their commanders must be getting frustrated, watching their perfect operation fall apart. Sarah allows herself a moment of satisfaction. Even the best special operations teams can be outmaneuvered if you understand how they think. The mine shaft opens into a massive cavern where their next transport waits. A stealth helicopter, with technology even most military units haven't seen yet. Senator Hawthorne arranged it through channels so classified even Sarah doesn't know their origin. "We're not finished," Rodriguez says as they board the aircraft. "Chimera, the Chinese. Military, they'll keep coming." "Good," Sarah replies, powering up the helicopter's advanced systems, "because we're not running anymore. Sometimes you have to let your enemies think they're winning before you show them how wrong they are." The stealth helicopter lifts off silently as Chimera's forces continue their futile search miles away. By the time they realize they've been chasing shadows, Sarah and Rodriguez will be long gone, preparing for the next phase of this shadow war. "Where are we going?" Rodriguez asks as they fly through the night. "To remind them why Navy SEALs are considered the world's elite special operations force," Sarah answers. "They wanted to trap us. Now we're going to show them what it really means to be hunted." The helicopter disappears into the darkness, its stealth systems making it invisible to even the most advanced radar. Below, Chimera's operators continue, searching, unaware that their perfect trap has become a perfect failure. Tomorrow will bring new challenges as this corporate-sponsored shadow war escalates. But that's exactly the kind of situation where Navy SEALs thrive, turning impossible odds into successful missions, one calculated risk at a time. The night belongs to them now, and somewhere in Beijing, Chimera's leadership is about to learn why underestimating a Navy SEAL is always a fatal mistake. The real war is just beginning, but Sarah Mitchell has spent her entire career proving why gender and expectations mean nothing in the face of absolute commitment to the mission. As they fly toward their next objective, Sarah reflects on her journey from SEAL training to this moment. Every obstacle, every doubt, every person who said she couldn't succeed, They all helped forge her into something unique. A warrior who proves that true strength isn't about physical power, but the indomitable will to never quit. The helicopter banks through a mountain pass as dawn approaches. There's more at stake now than just national security. Dr. Rodriguez's research could revolutionize warfare itself. But that's fine with Sarah. After all, Navy SEALs don't just rise to challenges, they exceed them. The Hong Kong skyline glitters like shattered diamonds as Sarah observes the Chimera Defense Solutions Asia headquarters through her tactical scope. 70 stories of steel and glass housing one of the world's most sophisticated private military companies. The building's security systems would make most government facilities look amateur, but that's exactly why she's here. Quantum signature detected, Dr. Rodriguez whispers, monitoring specialized equipment from their hidden observation post. They're testing the prototype. Sarah's jaw tightens. Somewhere in that tower, Chimera's scientists are attempting to weaponize Rodriguez's research. If they succeed, they'll have technology capable of disrupting the quantum field itself, turning any electronic device into a potential weapon. Security rotation in 30 seconds, Sarah notes, watching guards move with military precision. Unlike the operators she's faced before, these are Chimera's elite executive protection unit, former special operations soldiers from across Asia trained specifically for urban warfare. She checks her specialized gear one last time. Traditional tactical equipment won't work for this mission. Instead, she's using prototype stealth technology based on Rodriguez's research. A suit that can briefly manipulate quantum fields to bend light around her. Remember, Rodriguez says, making final adjustments to the suit's controls, you've got 45 seconds per activation before the quantum field destabilizes. Use them wisely. Sarah nods, her mind already mapping out infiltration routes. The mission seems impossible. Penetrate one of the most secure buildings in Asia, reach the quantum research lab on the 65th floor, and extract vital data before Chimera can complete their prototype. Impossible is just a word people use to feel better about giving up, she mutters, remembering her SEAL instructor's favorite saying. The memory brings a slight smile. They said becoming the first female Navy SEAL was impossible too. She begins her approach as a storm rolls in from the South China Sea. Lightning illuminates the tower's glass facade as Sarah activates the quantum suit. The sensation is strange, like being wrapped in liquid light. Through her enhanced vision, she watches security systems slide right past her altered quantum signature. The first challenge comes at the service entrance. 2 EPU operators guard the door, their weapons and stance indicating extensive close-quarters combat training. Sarah times her movement between lightning flashes, using the quantum suit's brief invisibility to slip past them undetected. Inside, she navigates through a maze of security checkpoints. Each one is staffed by veterans who know every standard infiltration tactic. But they've never faced someone trained to think beyond standard operations, someone who can literally bend reality around her. Sarah reaches the research levels, where security becomes even more intense. Quantum sensors designed to detect the slightest atomic disturbance scan every corner. She waits, watching the patterns, looking for the gaps that always exist in even the most sophisticated systems. A group of researchers exits a secure lab, their conversations revealing critical intelligence. Chimera isn't just developing weapons. They're trying to create quantum-based mind control technology. The implications are staggering. Found it, Sarah whispers into her secure comm as she spots the primary research lab. But we've got a problem. They're further along than we thought. Through the lab's windows, she observes scientists working on what appears to be a finished prototype. The device pulses with unnatural energy, distorting the very air around it. Sarah's about to move when her enhanced senses pick up something wrong. The guard patterns have shifted subtly, not enough for normal observation to notice, but to her SEAL-trained instincts, it screams of an ambush. They know we're here, she realizes. This whole thing is a trap. But instead of retreating, Sarah's mind kicks into overdrive. Years of special operations experience have taught her that sometimes the best way to beat a trap is to trigger it deliberately, on your terms. She activates the quantum suit, timing her approach with precision. The lab's doors whisper open as she slips inside. Moving between security sensors with fluid grace, the scientists remain focused on their work, unaware of the ghost in their midst. The prototype sits on a central pedestal, its quantum field, interfering with her suit's capabilities. Sarah has less than a minute before the field completely disrupts her stealth technology. As she reaches for the device, the trap springs. Hidden panels slide open, revealing Chimera's elite tactical team. But Sarah's already moving, using their own formations against them. The first operator goes down before he can raise his weapon, years of close-quarters combat training taking over. The lab erupts in chaos as Sarah engages multiple opponents simultaneously. These aren't ordinary soldiers. They're top-tier operators with advanced combat augmentations, but they've never faced someone who combines SEAL training with quantum-enhanced capabilities. Through her tactical display, Sarah watches security teams converging on her position. Time is running out. She needs to secure the prototype and the research data before Chimera's full force arrives. A security barrier slams down, nearly trapping her arm as she grabs the prototype. Warning klaxons blare throughout the building. Sarah's mind races through options, calculating risks against probability of success. That's when the second part of her plan activates. Throughout the building, carefully planted quantum disruptors begin pulsing, creating waves of interference that play havoc with Chimera's security systems. The very technology they were trying to weaponize becomes their weakness. Secondary target acquired, Sarah transmits as she downloads critical research data. Beginning exfiltration. She moves through the chaos like a quantum ghost, each step calculated to take advantage of the disrupted security systems. Chimera's operators give chase, but they're fighting blind now, their advanced systems rendered useless by the quantum interference. Sarah reaches the building's edge, where the storm rages with increased intensity. 65 stories up, lightning illuminates her path, a maintenance crane extending out into empty space. Normal operators would consider this route suicide, but Navy SEALs are trained to turn impossible situations into successful missions. She sprints along the crane as Chimera's forces open fire. The quantum suit absorbs some impacts, others miss entirely as Sarah pushes her enhanced capabilities to their limits. At the crane's end, she does something that makes even hardened operators freeze in disbelief. She jumps. The quantum suit's field manipulators engage, bending light and gravity around her as she plummets toward the streets below. It's a technique they practiced only once in simulations, using quantum fields to create a controlled descent. Sarah lands with perfect precision on a moving truck, part of her carefully orchestrated extraction plan. By the time Chimera's operators reach the street, she's already gone, leaving them with nothing but questions about what they just witnessed. Hours later, Sarah and Rodriguez examine the prototype in a secure facility. The technology represents A quantum leap in weapons development, but now it's safely out of Chimera's hands. They'll try again, Rodriguez notes, studying the device. This was just their first attempt. Let them try, Sarah replies, already planning countermeasures. They keep forgetting the most important lesson from special operations. It's not about the technology or the weapons, it's about the operator behind them. As if to emphasize her point, Sarah's satellite phone displays a new message from Senator Hawthorne. Chimera CEO in emergency meetings, company stock plummeting, board members asking questions, Phase 1 complete. Sarah allows herself a moment of satisfaction. Sometimes the best victories aren't just about completing the mission, they're about sending a message. Chimera thought they could outthink a Navy SEAL, use their resources and technology to change the rules of engagement. Instead, they learned what everyone who underestimates Sarah Mitchell eventually discovers. True strength isn't about equipment or numbers. It's about the indomitable will to succeed, the refusal to accept limitations, and the ability to turn any situation to your advantage. The storm continues to rage outside as Sarah begins planning their next move. Chimera's leadership is wounded, but wounded predators are often the most dangerous. They'll regroup, adapt their tactics, try something even more ambitious, but that's exactly the kind of challenge Navy SEALs are trained for. Each impossible situation is just another opportunity to prove why they're considered the world's elite. Special Operations Force. The night belongs to them now, and somewhere in Hong Kong, Chimera's leadership is learning a valuable lesson about assumptions and underestimating their opponents. The real war is just beginning, but Sarah Mitchell has spent her entire career proving that gender and expectations mean nothing in the face of absolute commitment to the mission. The roar of jet engines echoes across the private airfield as Sarah analyzes surveillance feeds showing Chimera's response to the Hong Kong operation. Their CEO, Marcus Sterling, has gathered the company's top operators at a hidden training facility in the mountains of Montana, a place where private military contractors learn to become elite warriors. Through high-resolution satellite imagery, Sarah watches as transport planes deliver specialized equipment and personnel. Her tactical display identifies former special operations soldiers from a dozen different countries, each one a lethal expert in their field. They're not just gathering forces, Sarah observes, noting the specific individuals arriving. They're building a shadow army. Dr. Rodriguez looks up from her analysis of the quantum prototype they seized. The technology they were developing in Hong Kong, it was just the beginning. These readouts suggest they're working on something much bigger. Sarah's satellite phone lights up with a priority message from Senator Hawthorne. Sterling meeting with foreign military officials. Massive weapons contracts being negotiated. Whatever they're planning, it happens in 48 hours. The pieces start coming together in Sarah's mind. Chimera isn't just trying to develop advanced weapons, they're positioning themselves to become a private military superpower, using quantum technology to give their forces capabilities that no conventional army could match. Look at this, Rodriguez says, highlighting data streams from the prototype. They weren't just trying to manipulate quantum fields, they're trying to create permanent quantum disruption zones, areas where normal physics simply stops working. Sarah's jaw tightens as she realizes the implications. They could shut down any military force, disable any weapon system. No government could stand against them. A new alert flashes across her tactical display. Chimera's systems are broadcasting a message on encrypted channels, an invitation. Sterling wants to meet just the two of them, at the Montana facility. "It's another trap," Rodriguez warns, but Sarah's already formulating a plan. "Of course it is," she replies, checking her specialized gear, "but sometimes you have to walk into a trap to spring your own." The Montana facility comes into view as Sarah pilots the stealth helicopter through mountain valleys. The compound sprawls across several acres, its buildings designed to train operators in every form of combat. But something about the layout triggers her tactical instincts. They're not just training here, they're preparing for a specific operation. She lands at the designated point where Sterling waits with a small security detail. The Chimera CEO cuts an impressive figure. Former Delta Force, multiple combat deployments, the kind of operator who commands respect through experience rather than rank. "Agent Mitchell," he greets her with professional courtesy. "Or should I say, Chief Mitchell, your SEAL record is impressive, even if most of it is classified." "Let's skip the pleasantries," Sarah responds, noting the positions of hidden snipers in the surrounding buildings. "We both know why I'm here." Sterling gestures for her to walk with him, leading her through the facility. "You've caused us significant problems, but you've also proven something I've suspected. The future of warfare isn't about technology or numbers. It's about exceptional individuals. They reach a massive training arena where operators practice with prototype quantum-enhanced gear. The technology is beyond anything Sarah's seen before, making the Hong Kong devices look primitive in comparison. "Join us," Sterling offers, his voice carrying genuine respect. "Your skills combined with our resources, we could reshape the world order. No more corrupt governments, no more inefficient military bureaucracies, just pure operational excellence." Sarah studies the arena, her mind calculating angles and positions. "You mean reshape the world according to Chimera's vision, trading one form of control for another?" "We're going to change things with or without you," Sterling states matter-of-factly. "In 48 hours, our quantum-enhanced forces will demonstrate their capabilities on multiple targets simultaneously. Governments will have no choice but to recognize our authority." "That's why you really invited me here," Sarah realizes. "You're not trying to recruit me. You're trying to keep me occupied while your operation launches." Sterling smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. "You're even sharper than your record suggests. Yes, this facility is about to become your prison. Even a Navy SEAL can't escape a quantum containment field." Sarah appears to consider his words as hidden emitters power up around them, creating a quantum disruption zone that would trap any normal operator. But Sarah Mitchell has never been normal. "You know why SEALs are considered elite?" she asks, subtly shifting her stance. "It's not just the training or the gear. It's because we never stop learning, never stop adapting." The quantum containment field surges to full power just as Sarah activates her own countermeasures. The prototype they seized in Hong Kong wasn't just a weapon. It was the key to understanding and counteracting Chimera's technology. Chaos erupts as Sarah moves with lethal precision. The security detail reacts with professional skill, but they're not prepared for someone who can operate freely within their quantum disruption fields. Each strike is calculated and precise, using their own technology against them. Sterling backs away, genuine surprise showing on his face for the first time. "How?" "You forgot the first rule of special operations," Sarah replies, advancing through the disrupted quantum fields. "The best technology is useless if you can't outthink your opponent." The facility's alarms blare as Sarah engages multiple attackers simultaneously. These aren't ordinary operators. They're Chimera's elite, enhanced with prototype quantum gear. But Sarah's SEAL training, combined with Rodriguez's countermeasures, turns their advantages into vulnerabilities. She fights her way to the facility's command center, where the true purpose of this base becomes clear. Tactical displays show multiple strike teams preparing for simultaneous attacks on government and military installations worldwide. Chimera isn't just planning to demonstrate their power, they're staging a global coup. Sarah's fingers fly across control systems, transmitting critical data to Senator Hawthorne. With proof of Chimera's intentions, governments can move to stop their operations before they begin. But first, she has to survive long enough to escape. Sterling's voice echoes through the facility's speakers. "You're fighting for a world order that's already dead, Mitchell. The age of nations is over. The future belongs to those with the will to seize it." "You're wrong," Sarah responds, engaging another group of quantum-enhanced operators. "The future belongs to those who protect it." The battle transforms into a deadly game of cat and mouse through the facility's training zones. Sarah uses every lesson from her SEAL career, turning Chimera's own courses against their operators. Each engagement demonstrates why Navy SEALs are considered the world's elite. It's not about the technology, but the warrior wielding it. She reaches the facility's power core, where Rodriguez's analysis suggested the quantum enhancement systems would be vulnerable. The designs are impressive, capable of creating disruption fields that could paralyze entire cities. "Last chance, Mitchell," Sterling's voice carries over the speakers. "Think about what we could achieve together." Sarah's response comes in the form of precisely placed charges designed to overload the quantum generation systems. The facility's enhanced operators rush to stop her, but they're too late. The explosion cascades through the power core, creating a chain reaction that disables Chimera's quantum technology. Without their enhanced capabilities, they're just well-trained soldiers facing a Navy SEAL in her element. Sarah fights her way back to her helicopter as military forces approach the facility, summoned by Senator Hawthorne's evidence. Sterling and his top operators escape in the chaos, but their grand plan lies in ruins. Hours later, Sarah debriefs with Rodriguez and Hawthorne. Chimera's global operation has been exposed, their quantum technology neutralized. But Sterling's words linger. The world is changing, and the lines between private and state military power are blurring. "They'll try again," Rodriguez notes, studying data from the facility's systems. Different technology, different approach, but the same goal. "Let them try," Sarah responds, already planning countermeasures. They keep forgetting what makes special operations forces truly elite. It's not about having the best technology or the most resources. It's about having the will to never quit, the creativity to adapt, and the courage to face any challenge. Orizo, as if to emphasize her point, new intelligence reports show Chimera's leadership regrouping, forming alliances with other private military companies. The war isn't over. It's evolving into something even more complex, but that's exactly the kind of challenge Navy SEALs are trained for. Each impossible situation is just another opportunity to prove why they're considered the world's elite special operations force. The future may be uncertain, but Sarah Mitchell has spent her entire career proving that true strength comes from within, from the indomitable will to succeed, no matter the odds. The real war is just beginning, and she's ready to show them why underestimating a Navy SEAL is always a fatal mistake. Moonlight reflects off Arctic ice as Sarah pilots the experimental stealth submarine through freezing waters. 3 days have passed since the Montana operation, and intelligence suggests Sterling has retreated to Chimera's most secure facility, a research base hidden beneath the polar ice cap. Quantum signatures detected, Dr. Rodriguez reports, monitoring advanced sensors. They're definitely here, and they're working with something new. The submarine's displays show massive energy readings emanating from the underwater base. Whatever Chimera is developing, it's more powerful than anything they've encountered before. Sarah guides the vessel through a maze of underwater sensors, using currents and thermal layers to mask their approach. Her SEAL training in underwater operations proves invaluable. This is the environment where Navy SEALs first earned their legendary status. Multiple defensive layers, Sarah notes, studying the base's security systems, automated torpedo networks, sonar arrays, and something else. The sensors detect strange distortions in the water, areas where normal physics seems to break down. They're using quantum fields to create underwater barriers, Rodriguez explains, like force fields from science fiction, but real. A priority message flashes across their secure communications. Sterling meeting with rogue military commanders from 6 nations. Prototype demonstration in 12 hours. Whatever they're planning, it's big. Sarah's tactical display shows the base's layout, a marvel of engineering built into the seafloor. But something about the design triggers her instincts. The facility isn't just a research station, it's a launch platform. They're not hiding here, she realizes. This is their command center for something global. The submarine reaches a hidden approach vector Sarah identified in the base's plans. Most operators would consider this route suicide, threading through a narrow underwater canyon with barely meters of clearance. But Navy SEALs specialize in the impossible. Launching infiltration pods, Sarah announces, activating specialized equipment. The pods, designed for covert underwater insertion, shoot from the submarine's tubes. Each one carries vital components of their mission. Sarah dons her advanced diving gear, a prototype suit capable of withstanding extreme depths and temperatures. But more importantly, it incorporates Rodriguez's latest quantum field countermeasures. Remember, Rodriguez says, making final adjustments, the suit can only neutralize their quantum barriers for short periods. Time each breach carefully. Sarah nods, mentally preparing for what comes next. Most special operations units train for underwater combat, but Navy SEALs live for it. This is where all her training, all her experience comes together. The water hits her like liquid ice as she exits the submarine. Even through the advanced suit, the Arctic cold tries to penetrate. But Sarah's mind remains focused, every movement precise and calculated. She navigates through the underwater defenses like a ghost, using natural currents to mask her movement. Chimera's sonar operators are professionals, but they've never hunted. Someone trained in the most advanced maritime special operations techniques. The first quantum barrier appears as a shimmering wall in the water. Sarah activates her countermeasures with perfect timing, slipping through the field seconds before her suit's power cells need to recharge. She reaches the base's outer hull, where automated defense systems guard every potential entry point. But Sarah's study of the facility's plans revealed a vulnerability. Maintenance tubes designed to clear ice buildup from critical systems. The tube is barely wide enough for a person in full dive gear, and a wrong move means being trapped underwater. But Sarah's SEAL training included countless exercises in confined underwater spaces. She moves through the narrow passage with practiced efficiency, every motion carefully controlled. Inside the base, she emerges in a flooded maintenance bay. Security teams patrol above, their movements reflecting elite training. Sarah observes their patterns through the water, waiting for the perfect moment to surface. She breaks the water's surface in a blind spot between camera coverage, moving with liquid grace. The first guard never sees her coming. A precise nerve strike renders him unconscious before he can react. Sarah secures him quietly, using his own equipment to bind him. The base's interior reveals the scale of Chimera's operation. Advanced quantum research labs connect to military command centers. Through observation windows, she spots Sterling, meeting with uniformed officers, leaders of special operations units who've gone rogue. "The quantum device is ready," Sterling's voice carries through ventilation systems. "When we activate the global network, every military base, every government installation will be paralyzed. The age of nations ends today." Sarah's blood runs cold as she realizes the truth. The underwater base isn't just a research facility. It's the control center for quantum disruption devices planted worldwide. Chimera isn't trying to demonstrate their power. They're staging a complete takeover. She moves through the facility like a predator, neutralizing key personnel with surgical precision. Each takedown is silent, efficient. The result of years mastering the art of covert operations. The Quantum Control Center is Chimera's most heavily defended position. Elite operators guard every approach, supported by automated defense systems. But they're watching for conventional attacks, not for someone who thinks like a seal. Sarah uses the base's own construction against them. Maintenance shafts and cooling systems become infiltration routes. She approaches the control center from below. Through access points the guards consider too small for human passage. The first sign something's wrong is when their communications go dark. Sarah has already neutralized their command staff, using non-lethal techniques that leave no trace. By the time the guards realize they're under attack, she's already inside. Their perimeter, the quantum control room, is a masterpiece of advanced technology. Holographic displays show targets worldwide, each one marked for paralysis by Chimera's devices. Sterling stands at the central console, minutes away from initiating his master plan. "I knew you'd come," he says without turning. "You're proving my point about exceptional individuals shaping history." "This ends now," Sarah responds, noting the positions of hidden guards. "Your vision of the future died in Montana." Sterling turns, revealing something new. He's wearing quantum-enhanced combat gear, more advanced than anything they've encountered. "No, Mitchell. Montana proved we need to think bigger. Why control armies when we can control reality itself?" The fight that follows would make her SEAL instructors proud. Sterling's enhanced capabilities make him incredibly dangerous, but Sarah has something he doesn't: the experience of countless real-world operations where technology meant nothing compared to skill and will. She moves through his attacks like water, using his enhanced strength against him. Each strike is precisely calculated, targeting weak points in his quantum field generators. Sterling's technology makes him powerful, but it also makes him predictable. "You're fighting for a dead system," Sterling growls, his attacks becoming desperate. "The world needs direction, needs leadership." "The world needs protection," Sarah counters, executing a perfect counter that sends him sprawling, from people who think power gives them the right to control others. The quantum control systems begin their activation sequence. Sarah has minutes to stop a global catastrophe. Sterling laughs from the floor, blood trickling from his mouth. "You can't shut it down," he coughs. The system is automated now. Nothing can stop it. Sarah allows herself a small smile. You forgot who you're dealing with. Navy SEALs don't stop at impossible. Her fingers fly across the control systems, implementing a plan months in the making. Rodriguez's quantum countermeasures, combined with Sarah's understanding of Chimera's technology, create a cascade failure that ripples through their entire network. Warning klaxons blare as the base's systems begin to overload. Sterling watches in disbelief as his grand vision collapses. Years of planning, billions in resources, all undone by one operator who refused to accept limitations. "Who are you?" he whispers, as Sarah secures him with tactical restraints. "I'm a Navy SEAL," she replies simply, "and you're under arrest." The base erupts in chaos as Sarah fights her way back to her extraction point. Chimera's remaining operators try to stop her, but they're facing someone trained to excel in exactly these conditions. She reaches the flooded maintenance bay just as military forces arrive to secure the facility. The evidence she's gathered will dismantle Chimera's entire organization, exposing corrupt officials and rogue operators worldwide. Hours later, Sarah debriefs with Senator Hawthorne and Dr. Rodriguez. The quantum technology has been contained, its potential for misuse eliminated. But more importantly, they've proven that even in an age of advanced technology, the human element, courage, skill, and indomitable will still matters most. "There'll be others," Rodriguez notes, studying data from the Arctic base. "Other organizations, other threats, trying to use technology to dominate." "Let them try," Sarah responds, already planning her return to Border Patrol duties. "They keep forgetting what makes special operations forces truly elite. It's not about having the best technology or the most resources. It's about having the will to never quit, the creativity to adapt, and the courage to face any challenge." The Arctic sun breaks through clouds as military vessels secure the underwater base. Somewhere in those ships, Sterling contemplates how his perfect plan was undone by one operator who proved that true strength comes from within. The world may be changing, technology advancing, but Sarah Mitchell has spent her career proving that the human spirit, trained, focused, and unstoppable, remains the most powerful force of all. The real war never ends, but that's exactly why Navy SEALs exist, to face the impossible, overcome the insurmountable, and protect those who can't protect themselves. One mission at a time. Red dust swirls across the Texas border as Sarah's Border Patrol vehicle cuts through the morning heat. 2 weeks have passed since the Arctic operation, and she's returned to her regular duties, but something about today feels different. The radio chatter carries an edge of tension she recognizes from combat zones. Her tactical display shows multiple incursions along the border, but the pattern seems wrong. These aren't desperate migrants or cartel smugglers. The movement suggests military training, professional operators executing a coordinated plan. A priority alert flashes across her screen, a message from Senator Hawthorne. Sterling escaped during transport. Chimera sleeper cells activating worldwide. Something big happening at the border. Sarah's instincts, honed through years of SEAL operations, snap to full alert. The border incursions aren't random, they're a diversion. While law enforcement responds to multiple crossings, something more dangerous is unfolding. Her satellite phone vibrates with an encrypted transmission from Dr. Rodriguez. Detected quantum energy signatures moving north from Mexico. They've built something new. Through her enhanced optics, Sarah spots movement in a seemingly abandoned ranch house. Heat signatures suggest at least 20 operators, their positioning indicating advanced tactical training. But something else catches her attention, strange energy readings that make her senses fluctuate. They're not just regrouping, she realizes, they're testing a new weapon. Sarah accesses classified satellite feeds, studying the terrain. Multiple Chimera teams are converging on specific points along the border, each one carrying equipment that generates quantum disruption fields. But these aren't like the previous technology. These fields are stable, controllable. A dust devil whirls past her vehicle as she formulates a plan. Most operators would call for backup, wait for a tactical team to respond. But Sarah knows they don't have time. Whatever Chimera is planning, it's happening now. She reaches her hidden equipment cache, accessing gear specifically designed for this kind of threat. Her tactical vest incorporates Rodriguez's latest quantum countermeasures, but more importantly, it carries the lessons learned from every previous encounter with Chimera. Moving like a ghost through the desert terrain, Sarah approaches the ranch house. Her SEAL training takes over, every movement precise and calculated. The guards are professionals, but they've never hunted someone trained in the world's most elite maritime special operations unit. Through her tactical scope, she spots Sterling directing operations from inside. The former Delta Force operator looks different, his body enhanced with new quantum technology that seems to pulse beneath. His skin, whatever they did to him during his escape, he's no longer entirely human. The border disappears today, Sterling's voice carries through her directional microphone. When our quantum fields activate, no wall, no fence, no military force will matter. Boundaries become meaningless. Sarah's mind races through implications. Chimera isn't just trying to breach the border, they're planning to erase it completely, using quantum fields to create zones where normal physics and conventional barriers mean nothing. She begins her approach, using the desert itself as cover. Years of special operations experience have taught her that the best infiltration route is often the one enemies consider impossible. The ranch house's blind spots reveal themselves to her trained eye. The first guard goes down silently, a precise nerve strike rendering him unconscious. Sarah appropriates his communications gear, listening as Chimera coordinates their operation. Multiple teams are in position, waiting for Sterling's signal to activate their quantum devices. Inside the ranch house, she moves like liquid shadow through security positions. These aren't ordinary operators. They're Chimera's elite, enhanced with the latest quantum technology. But Sarah has something they don't. The unshakable will and adaptability that makes Navy SEALs legendary. She reaches the command center, just as Sterling initiates the countdown. Through tactical displays, she watches quantum disruption fields beginning to form along the border. The technology is incredible, creating zones where conventional physics simply stops working. It's beautiful, isn't it? Sterling's voice comes from behind her. The end of nations, the dawn of a world without boundaries. Sarah turns to face him, noting how the quantum energy ripples through his enhanced form. "You forgot something crucial about boundaries," she replies. "Sometimes they exist for a reason." The fight that follows would make her SEAL instructors proud. Sterling's quantum enhancements make him incredibly powerful, but Sarah has spent her entire career proving that technology isn't everything. Each move is calculated, precise, using his own strength against him. "You're still thinking like a soldier," Sterling growls, his attacks becoming increasingly desperate. "This is evolution, the next step for humanity." "No!" Sarah counters, executing a perfect takedown that sends him crashing into his own control systems. This is you, trying to play God with forces you don't understand. The quantum control center sparks and sputters as Sarah implements Rodriguez's countermeasures. Sterling watches in disbelief as his disruption fields begin to collapse, the boundaries he tried to erase reasserting themselves. "Impossible," he whispers, his enhanced body beginning to fail as the quantum energy destabilizes. The technology was perfect. "That's your problem," Sarah responds, securing him with specialized restraints. "You think perfect technology makes perfect operators, but real strength comes from within." The ranch house erupts in chaos as Chimera's remaining forces try to salvage their operation, but Sarah has already transmitted the location to federal response teams. Within minutes, the sound of helicopters fills the air as multiple agencies converge on the site. Hours later, Sarah debriefs with Senator Hawthorne and Dr. Rodriguez. The quantum technology has been contained, its potential for misuse once again thwarted. But more importantly, they've proven that even in an age of incredible technological advancement, the human element, courage, skill, and indomitable will, remains paramount. Sterling's enhancement procedure, Rodriguez notes, studying medical data. They tried to create a perfect soldier using quantum technology, but they forgot that true warriors aren't made in laboratories. "They never learn," Sarah responds, already planning her return to regular patrol duties. "Special operations forces aren't elite because of their equipment or their technology. They're elite because of their spirit, their training, and their absolute refusal to quit." The Texas sun sets over the border as federal agents process the scene. Somewhere in those custody vehicles, Sterling contemplates how his grand vision was undone by one operator who proved that boundaries, both physical and ethical, exist for good reasons. The world may be advancing, technology may be evolving, but Sarah Mitchell has spent her career proving that the human spirit, trained, focused, and unstoppable, remains the most powerful force in any operation. The real war never ends. But that's exactly why Navy SEALs exist, to face the impossible, overcome the insurmountable, and protect the boundaries that keep civilization safe. One mission at a time, they prove that true strength comes not from technology or enhancement, but from the unshakable will to never quit, never fail, and never compromise their principles. As Sarah returns to her Border Patrol vehicle, her satellite phone displays a new message. Multiple Chimera cells still active. New technology detected in South America. When you're ready. She allows herself a small smile. The mission continues, and somewhere out there, another impossible challenge awaits, but that's fine with her. After all, Navy SEALs don't just face challenges, they overcome them, redefine them, and turn them into opportunities to prove why they're considered the world's elite special operations force. The border stretches before her, a line in the sand that represents not just a physical boundary, but a principle worth defending. And Sarah Mitchell, former Navy SEAL and current Border Patrol agent, stands ready to protect it, one impossible mission at a time. Lightning splits the Colombian sky as Sarah's stealth helicopter approaches the hidden valley. Intelligence from the captured Chimera operators revealed their final fallback position, a fortress carved into a mountainside where the remnants of their organization prepare for one last stand. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Dr. Rodriguez reports from the co-pilot's seat, monitoring advanced sensors. They've consolidated all their remaining technology here. Whatever they're planning, it's massive. The fortress emerges through the rain, a marvel of engineering built to withstand any conventional assault. Anti-aircraft defenses scan the clouds, while quantum disruption fields create an almost impenetrable barrier around the facility. Sarah's tactical display shows the full scope of Chimera's final operation. They've gathered their most elite operators, their most advanced technology, and something else. Energy readings that suggest they've developed something far beyond their previous capabilities. This isn't just a last stand, Sarah realizes, studying the patterns. It's an evolution. A priority message flashes across her secure comm. Sterling escaped again. Medical reports show his quantum enhancement is accelerating. He's becoming something beyond human. Through advanced optics, Sarah observes the fortress's defenses. Former special operations soldiers from a dozen nations patrol the perimeter, each one enhanced with quantum technology. But something about their movement seems wrong. Too fluid, too synchronized, as if they're connected by more than just radio communications. They've linked them, Rodriguez whispers, analyzing data streams. Sterling found a way to connect their quantum enhancements. They're operating as a hive mind. Sarah's mind races through options as she guides the helicopter to a concealed landing zone. Conventional tactics won't work against an enemy that thinks and moves as one. But Navy SEALs aren't trained for conventional warfare. She checks her specialized gear one final time. The equipment incorporates everything they've learned from previous encounters with Chimera, but Sarah knows the real advantage isn't technological. It's the indomitable will that every SEAL carries within. Moving through the rainforest like a ghost, Sarah approaches the fortress. The enhanced operators move with uncanny precision, their linked consciousness making them incredibly dangerous. But their very unity becomes a weakness. They think as one, losing the individual creativity that makes special operations forces truly elite. Sarah reaches the fortress wall, where quantum fields create barriers that should be impossible to breach. But her time with Rodriguez has taught her something crucial. Even the most advanced technology has patterns, rhythms that can be predicted and exploited. She times her movement perfectly, slipping through fluctuations in the quantum fields. The first enhanced operator never sees her coming. A precise strike that disrupts not just his consciousness, but his connection to the hive mind. Inside the fortress, Sarah moves like liquid shadow through security positions. Each takedown is calculated not just to neutralize the operator, but to create chaos in their shared consciousness. The hive mind becomes their weakness as confusion and fear ripple through their connected awareness. The command center reveals the true scope of Sterling's plan. Massive quantum generators power what appears to be a gateway, a tear in the fabric of reality itself. Sterling stands before it, his enhanced form pulsing with impossible energy. "Welcome to the future, Mitchell," he says, his voice resonating with inhuman harmonics. Chimera was never about weapons or borders. It was about transcendence. Sarah analyzes the situation with the cold precision her SEAL training instilled. Sterling hasn't just enhanced himself. He's becoming a conduit for quantum energy, preparing to force humanity into an evolution they're not ready for. "You're playing with forces you don't understand," she warns, noting how reality itself seems to warp around him. "Understanding is overrated," Sterling laughs, the sound echoing strangely. "Power is what matters. The power to reshape existence itself." The battle that follows transcends ordinary combat. Sterling's quantum enhancement makes him almost godlike. But Sarah has something more powerful, the absolute conviction that drives every Navy SEAL. Each move is calculated, precise, using his own power against him. "You still don't get it," Sterling snarls as they clash. "This isn't about winning or losing. It's about becoming something greater." "No," Sarah counters, executing a perfect combination that disrupts his quantum field. "It's about remembering. What makes us human?" The gateway pulses with increasing intensity as their battle rages. Through her tactical display, Sarah watches the quantum energy building to dangerous levels. Sterling isn't just trying to enhance humanity. He's trying to force an instantaneous evolution that could destroy everything. Sarah implements the final phase of her plan, a quantum pulse synchronized perfectly with Sterling's energy signature. The effect is devastating, creating a feedback loop that turns his own power against him. "Impossible," he gasps as his enhancement begins to fail. "The technology was perfect." "That's your mistake," Sarah responds, completing the takedown. "You thought technology makes the operator, but it's the other way around." The fortress shudders as the gateway begins to collapse. Sarah moves quickly, implementing Rodriguez's shutdown sequence before the quantum energies can tear reality apart. Sterling watches in disbelief as his grand vision dissolves into chaos. Hours later, Sarah stands with Rodriguez and Senator Hawthorne as federal agencies secure the fortress. Sterling and his enhanced operators are in custody, their quantum technology contained and studied. The enhancement process can be reversed, Rodriguez reports, studying medical data. They'll be human again, normal. "They always were," Sarah responds, watching recovery teams dismantle the quantum equipment. "They just forgot what that meant." The Colombian rain continues to fall as Sarah prepares for her return to Border Patrol duties. The world may be advancing, technology may be evolving, but she's spent her career proving that the human spirit, trained, focused, and unstoppable, remains the most powerful force in any operation. "There will be others," Hawthorne notes, reviewing intelligence reports. "Other organizations, other threats, trying to use technology to reshape the world." "Let them try," Sarah replies with quiet confidence. "They'll learn what everyone who faces Navy SEALs discovers. True strength isn't about technology or enhancement. It's about the will to never quit, the courage to face any challenge, and the wisdom to know why we fight." As her helicopter lifts off, Sarah reflects on the journey that brought her here. From being the first female Navy SEAL to defending the border, every challenge has only proven what she always knew. Limitations exist only in the mind. The real war never ends. But that's exactly why Special Operations Forces exist. To face the impossible, overcome the insurmountable, and protect the values that make humanity worth preserving. One mission at a time, they prove that true power comes not from technology or enhancement, but from the unshakable spirit within. The fortress disappears behind them as Sarah heads home, but her satellite phone displays one final message. New. Threats emerging. World still needs operators like you. When you're ready. She allows herself a small smile. The mission continues. And somewhere out there, another impossible challenge awaits. But that's fine with her. After all, Navy SEALs don't just face challenges, they overcome them, redefine them, and turn them into opportunities to prove why they're considered the world's elite. The rain parts as her helicopter heads north, revealing stars that shine with untainted brilliance. And Sarah Mitchell, former Navy SEAL and current Border Patrol agent, flies toward them with the same determination that's driven her entire career, ready to face whatever comes next, one impossible mission at a time. Because in the end, it's not about the technology you have or the enhancements you create. It's about the spirit you carry, the principles you defend, and the absolute refusal to ever quit, no matter the odds. That's what makes a Navy SEAL, and that's what makes the difference between victory and defeat in the endless war for humanity's future. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.